Alright, home stretch, y'all. Here's little Griffin with his little backside all stitched up. So you can see the double couch. There's a long couch and a short couch, all covering his little tush up. So the last thing we have to do is outline. Now, you're going to want to do this in the other color that you chose. So here's my brown, all stitched, all ready to go. On the tapestry itself, they would have used... I honestly can't find a pattern to what they'd use. They might have used blue to outline it, just because it's what they had handy. I'm a little too type A to just go grab something and use it. So yeah, I'm going to use the brown. The stitch, there's some debate, and honestly, in the tapestry, they use a couple of different stitches. So in some places, they just use a stem stitch to cover it. In some places, they use, I don't know what the heck that stitch is. It looks kind of like a back stitch, but there's no spaces in it, and I don't know. So I'm going to use a stem stitch because it's the one I can identify. We can always pick Mistress Eopha's brain, and she can show us some other stuff. So motherhood. So we can pick her brain for that. So Carol Kirk, watch out, because we're coming after you. So let's start with a stem stitch. For those of you, again, that are new to embroidery, stem stitch is a stitch that's run over a distance that allows a curve, which you can obviously see why they use it, because life is full of curves in more ways than one. So what they would do is the stem stitch, what you do is you do a front stitch. So here's a little front stitch. There's no big strange thing about that. And then they would come up next to that about halfway. So you see how the needle is halfway. Always, when you're doing it as a border of something, always keep the needle on the bottom side. So we're going to hide the rough edges by tucking them under. So here we go. Our stem stitch is under here. So there's 2 stitches. And then we're going to come under here, and usually that halfway is the end of the first stitch. Come on. So we're going to keep going along the outside edge. There we go. Doing this upside down is interesting. So that's all there is to it. And what you're going to do is you outline each section to separate your stitches and provide an edge to what you've done. So I'm going to get right around his little backside. And then I'm going to come back. I'm going to turn it off because, you know, once you've got the idea, you don't have to stick around for the whole mess. And just like the double couch part, I will come back and show you what the finished piece looks like. So here is motherhood. His little rumpus, all stem stitched. Now, you will see, as I'm stitching, you see kind of where the edges weren't straight. One side was a little shorter than the other side and all that stuff. The beautiful part about waiting to do the outline until after you're finished is that you can use your thread to cover that up. So as you can see, I am totally covering up all of those weird little edged bits. Ow, I just stabbed myself. It's a true to life project now. I have stabbed my finger. So I'm sure there will be blood on the underside somewhere. So I am completely covering up all of the little rough and raw edges of the embroidery with the edging. Since we don't know much about who did this, we don't know exactly how they did it, so there is absolutely no way to know whether they did the outline first or the fill first. So this is one of those times where you get some artistic license to do whatever your little heart desires, whatever makes life easier for you. So what makes life easier for me is covering up my boo-boos. So that's what I'm going to do. And this is actually a tip I got from Mistress Eofa. I'll get it up. Sorry about that. Mistress Eofa. When I did Bayou Stitch for a Stella Nova, not last year, year before. Whew, it's been a while. I guess I should get off my tush and do something else. So here you go. It was actually her idea because I had gone through and done all the outlines first, because I am a do the worst thing first person. And I had gone through and done all the outlines and then gone back to fill them in, and she suggested to do the opposite. And what I have learned since then is that look how much prettier it is when you go back and do the opposite. There's no break between the stitch and the outline. It looks like one solid piece. So that works for me, and it makes me look like I know what I'm doing, which is always a big plus on my side. So I'm going to stop the video right here, and I'm going to go back and finish all of the outside edges, and I will post a picture after. And then it won't be long until class starts. We got about an hour, so I'll see you then. Bye.
What is that, a Facebook Live?